East is in the house.
Oh my God.
Jimmy East is in the house.
Oh my God.
Jimmy East is in the house.
Oh my God.
Jimmy East is in the house.
Oh my God.
Jimmy East.
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are now tuned in to Talking NFC Beast. The host, Jermaine Avery, along with my co-host, one Trevis Willingham. How you doing tonight, Trevis?
I'm doing great right now, baby. I'm happy to be here. I lie to you not.
Yeah, we are short two co-hosts, one Michael Cash and one Hal Dumas. They're nowhere to be found, which I'm kind of surprised at that one Hal Dumas because the Giants actually won. But Michael Cash seems to be MIA at the moment, so we're gonna roll on without him. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, hit that like button and hit that subscribe button to our YouTube channel, Talking NFC Beast. If you like what you hear, and even if you don't like what you hear, hit it anyway, because we got a lot to say. We know what we're talking about. But as the show must go on, even though we don't have our two co-hosts, we're gonna get into last week's games, week 11. There were a lot of good games in the NFC East. A big NFC matchup between the Redskins and the Saints. It was a NFC AFC matchup against the Giants and the Chiefs, and then we had the game of the week, the Dallas Cowboys against the Philadelphia Eagles. Didn't go to Cowboys' favor. I just say that. So let's set it off right there. Trevis, it's your floor. Your team won. Please have at it.
Currently, I'd like to make the announcement that I will acknowledge the fact that every Cowboys fan will say, we didn't have our linebacker, we didn't have our lineman, we didn't have our safety. Boo hoo hoo. You had nobody. It doesn't even matter. You didn't have a coach. You didn't have a defensive coordinator. You didn't have an offensive coordinator. They all tried. Every time you looked at one of their faces after they tried to play on the Philadelphia Eagles, they looked stunned. They looked amazed. They were like, yo, how didn't that work? What happened? How come we only got 10 yards and we were supposed to gush them for at least 35 to 40 yards on that play? Why didn't it work? You know why? Because Dallas fans, you suck. That's why those plays did not work. They didn't play, they didn't work at all, and they were trying the hardest that they could try, no matter what. There was a reason why they were sitting there stunned in the fourth quarter, because they couldn't figure out how come their 1 week game plan did not work on the Philadelphia Eagles. There's a reason for that. Not because you didn't have a safety, not because you didn't have a running back, not because you didn't have a tackle. It's been proven that the Philadelphia Eagles still didn't have the exact same players. We were down a running back. We were down a tackle. We were down a linebacker. Same way you guys were down. But we didn't sit there and make excuses on the fact that we didn't have these specific players. So that's the reason why we couldn't play good in the game. Nobody's making any excuses for the first half. We knew the Philadelphia Eagles were going to come out. We knew we were going to be sluggish. That's just the way that we play. When we're coming off a 1 week bye, we're a little sluggish at a particular time. Okay. But when you look at the game, the adjustments, how it was played, how we played your defensive linemen for what they were, which is the 5-5 team now that you are. Understand this, Dallas fans. Just wasn't going to work for you. Not on this day, not on any day. Fired! Nothing at all. It was impossible. The impeccable team in which y'all faced up against and which y'all thought y'all were going to beat, it wasn't going to happen. Just tell you that right from the rip. It wasn't going to happen. Think about it. You saw the game. I saw the game too.
Okay.
I have a bunch of people that won't even talk to me anymore after y'all played that game. And I don't even know why you're not talking to me. You should be not being a fan. You should be not being a fan of the Dallas Cowboys anymore. I don't even know. You should be mad at me. Be mad at the Cowboys.
Are you talking about the Cowboys fans?
Yes. Be mad at the Cowboys. Don't be mad at the Eagles fan that you have to work with, or you have to be around, or you have to see that next day.
Be interject. I actually agree with you on a big portion of what you said. And I heard a lot of rhetoric from Cowboys fans. It wasn't necessarily any analyst or any publication of Cowboys followers, but it was a couple fans that came to me and said, "Well, the Cowboys have a ton of injuries. That's not an excuse. Sorry, I'm not buying that because every team in the NFL at this point in the season has injuries. Dallas lost that game because of poor performance. Simple as that.
Thank you.
I will say, as defense, he probably would say the same thing. I don't think his first argument would be that they are injured. But a lot of Cowboys fans are saying that. And I don't want to turn this into a rag on Cowboys fans because that's not what this podcast is about. We stick more to the facts and to the truth of the matter and the stats. But I did hear
the model.
I did hear that same rhetoric. And I laid them out. I was like, dude, the Redskins have 15 players on IR right now. 15 players. And at one particular point in one game, they have 4 new offensive linemen. And they still competed. At the end of the day, you put your players on the field. Your players are supposed to play and they're supposed to perform. If they don't, they don't. But don't make an excuse about injuries. Everybody has injuries. Some more than others. And I'm not saying that major injuries in key positions don't lessen your chances. They do. But at the same time, you still put a team on the field and you're still expected to play and perform and try to win the game. And in this particular case, they fell way short. Chances they actually were playing halfway decent in the first quarter. But after that, it wasn't really much to talk about. It really wasn't. I mean, the Eagles dominated that game by far. I mean, they really did. I'm not even saying that I thought the Eagles played their best game. I've seen them play better than that. I don't even really feel like the Eagles played their best game. But Carson Wentz, I don't know what it is. Maybe he's a magician. Maybe he's lucky. Maybe got a horseshoe up his butt. I don't know. But that dude seems to find his way out of tackles. I mean, he's a big guy. I know he's 6'4", 6'5", something like that.
6'5".
Yeah, 200 plus. He's out. He breaks tackles. He really does. He's a really good quarterback, and he's playing well this season. I would like to see him continue to play well throughout the remainder of the season. And, I don't see any reason why he won't. I can't say that he's going to stop performing well. But the Eagles, they totally dominated that game. The stat line showed it. The performance on the field showed it. Everything showed it. It's just really the bottom line. So, I mean, it's one of these rare occasions where, yeah, I agree with Trevis on this. I heard from some Cowboys fans that, the injuries were the reason, injuries to Sean Lee. And it's almost like they're treating Zeke being suspended as an injury, which it isn't. But, I mean, you could tell that Zeke wasn't on the field, but Alfred Morris still ran for 91 yards.
91. I mean, 91 yards.
He still ran well.
The thing
Jalen Smith came in. Dak even had 10 rushing yards off of 2 attempts. So, I mean, they just didn't. They didn't put their best play on the field. They didn't show up, man. 3 field goals is all they had.
Yeah, you didn't show up. You didn't show up at home, and you never got in the end zone.
I mean, they almost lost in every category.
So, can you imagine if they caught us before a bye week? Can you imagine if they caught us before a bye week? That's what you caught after a bye week. Before a bye week, red hot, moving forward. I just feel like it would, it was just, Dallas holding on to past fun, past wins. You're just holding on to it, hoping that Dallas actually shows up. But if you run into the Eagles when they don't come off a bye, and you run into the Eagles before that stretch, if the Cowboys were the game before they went on the bye, they would have caught the same thing that the Broncos caught.
That's possible.
They would have caught a team pumping on all cylinders, ready to go. It wouldn't have mattered who you had in the game. The Dallas Cowboys don't have enough people to defend all the players on the Eagles' offense. It's just that plain and simple.
I'm not saying that the Eagles wouldn't have won that game, because I still believe they would have won that game. I don't know if it would have been 37-9, but I think they would have put up a better performance had they had Zeke. But again, Alfred Morris didn't play a bad game. He didn't. It wasn't like he was non-existent. I mean, the running game was solid. I mean, truth of the matter is, I don't have a problem with Dak Prescott, but in this particular game, he just did not play well. He did not play well at all.
He didn't have a good game. 3 interceptions. You saw him throw many passes up in the air.
Hold up. He was careless with the ball. He seemed a little tight. He never seemed to kind of let it go and just rip the ball. He seemed like, I don't know. He just didn't seem like himself. He just didn't have a good game at all. He was very, very tight the entire game, it seemed like. And once he threw that first pick, it was kind of downhill from there. He never really recovered from that to me. From what I saw in the game, it didn't seem like it. I think Carson Wentz, like I said, he finds a way to break tackles and he makes some really good throws, but I don't think he had his best performance either. I mean, he didn't even over 200 yards.
His first half was trash. His first half was trash. His
first half looked like last season. It looked like last season, first half. And I'm not saying that it doesn't happen. It's bound to happen. I mean, you're not going to be, at your best every single play, every single quarter, every single half. But I will say this: at this point in the season, you want to find yourself playing your best ball, going into the playoffs and having as much positivity as you can. I mean, I'm really shocked at how well is playing. The corners are playing really well, and that was one aspect of them that I thought was a little bit beginning of the season, and they seem to have come around and figured things out in that position. Darby, now I will say this: there was one play in particular where I felt like they should have made a call that they didn't, and it was at the very beginning of the game in the red zone.
Pass interference call in the end zone.
Pass interference, without a doubt, because a pass interference, it should have been holding or illegal contact or something, because Dez was well beyond 5 yards and Darby came up and hit him. You cannot do that. You can't do that. As simple as that.
And Darby's defense on the play, he stuck out his arms because Bryant was running into him and he was up looking at the ball. So he stuck out his arms to keep him off of him so that he could jump for it.
I totally disagree. That's
his defense.
He basically jammed.
That's not what happened.
It's simple. And I'm not a Cowboys fan. I'm looking at the thing as partial as can be.
I hear you.
I'm telling you, I'm the dude.
I was like 5'8". That is like 6'4". Like, come on, man.
So what? You cannot make contact when a player is beyond 5 yards. I understand
He was backing up. And he put his hands out so they could go for the ball.
That is not what he did.
It happens all the time.
That is not what he did. It's not what he did. That's why he's smiling, because you
happens all the time, yo. You making me laugh. No, you making me laugh, yo. It happens all the time, yo. Seriously, it happens all the time. The ball was running into him. Dez didn't want the ball anyway. All right, agree with me with this. Did Dez want that ball?
No, Dez, he a glory whore. You know he wanted that touchdown. Come on, man. Dez wanted
he didn't want that ball, yo. He didn't want that ball.
I put it like
if Dez really wanted that ball, you could have saw him pushing off, going back up for the ball. He didn't go up for that ball. Dez started tripping and fell down. Darby had enough time to go up, go for the ball, and then jump over Dez's head.
It was clearly
like, come on.
Yeah, you know why? Because he knocked him down. That's why.
You know what it was? He's not a good enough actor. The rest were like, no, I'm good. I'm not buying that.
In that particular case, it was clear cut. Case closed. Darby was guilty. Throw the book at him, put him in jail. He should have got 5 to 10. Or 15, 15-yard penalty. Or half to the goal. Because in that particular case, it was pass interference, first down. But at the end of the day, could that play have changed things? Maybe, but probably not. I mean, that play didn't stop Dak from throwing interceptions. So, I shoulda, coulda, wouldas, whatever. And I'm going to get to shoulda, coulda, wouldas in a minute as we move on. You got anything else to say about the Eagles? I mean, you done ripped the Cowboys and their fans – the holy hell. I could go on doing this for a pretty much long time, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to allow us to move on in this podcast because Dallas fans kind of
Yeah, Dallas fans kind of bring up more and more and more. You see to the point where the Dallas fan didn't even show up on the phone. You feel what I'm saying? Like, come on. We done called him. We like, Cash, where you at? What's going on, buddy? You gonna show up on the podcast tonight? Nah.
Fired.
You know why? You know why? You know why? Because he know I had bars for him. He knew it was coming.
Stop.
Okay. It's okay.
Some help.
But you know what? Cash also had the Fly Eagles fly on his wrist. He also had the Fly Eagles fly on his wrist, so. Just let you know.
Okay.
He had Fly Eagles fly on his wrist, just to let you know. That was him.
They beat it down. They beat him down. They did. But moving on, let's move to the New York Giants versus Kansas City Chiefs. The Giants won. Oh my God. What in the world? The Giants won.
You're like, oh, hold up. Wait. Did we just say what we think we just say?
I pause because I'm like, what? Are you serious? The Giants.
Did we just say what I think you just said?
The Giants.
The Giants won.
Digest that for a second. Take a second. Just that. And the one time that the Giants, not the one time, second time, I'm sorry, Giants win, when Hal Dumas decides not to call in, not to respond about the podcast or nothing.
Not coming on. Who knows why? I mean, you only get 1 week of winning.
Yeah. I know it. Lord.
You only get 1 week of winning, and he's had 2 weeks now. He just doesn't show.
It's crazy to me. These stats. I mean, they beat him in first downs. They beat him in third down efficiency. They beat him in fourth down efficiency. Total yards. Yards. I mean, sacks. They beat them in almost every category and still lost the game. 9 points is what the Kansas City Chiefs scored. 9 points. I'm gonna tell you what.
Did they score a touchdown?
I don't think so. No, sir. I didn't. I personally did not watch the game because I was too busy soaking over the one Washington Redskins. But at any rate, Kansas City, I'm calling them out. Kareem Hunt, you don't know this, buddy. You disappeared. You disappeared on the NFL. You disappeared on the Chiefs. He needed that running back. I mean, he was breaking runs for 65 plus yards. You know, I mean, just going crazy week 1 through 5. Then all of a sudden, he disappears. Alex Smith, all of a sudden, he can't throw the ball no more. You know, Alex Smith was 27 of 40 for 230 yards, 2 interceptions, quarterback rating of 61.5%. That is piss poor pathetic. For a veteran quarterback like Alex Smith, that is terrible. That is bad. 27 of 40? You managed to throw the ball 40 times and you still lose the game? Come on, man.
He threw 40?
40 times. Come on, man. That's crazy.
He was exhausted.
That is pathetic. Eli only threw the ball 35 times for 205 yards. No interceptions, you know. But at least he didn't have only for 205 yards. At least he didn't throw a pick. 71.7% QB rating. I mean, that's Eli. That's Eli's MO. He doesn't do enough to hurt himself, but he ain't gonna win you the game either. You know what I'm saying? In this particular case, looks like he managed to do enough to win the game. You know, I'm very, very, very disappointed in the Kansas City Chiefs. They let a team struggling in the front office beat them. They let a team beat them like that. The Kansas City Chiefs should be ashamed. I'm sorry. Anything you would like to add, Mr. Trevis?
That was an Andy Reid team. They're not going to show up right now. They're going to show up a little bit later. And they're going to show up a little bit later. And that's what Andy Reid teams do. When you expect them to just destroy somebody, they don't. It's like Andy Reid took a week off. He took a week off of coaching. And for some reason, you really sit there and say, did you really just do that? Did you really just go out there and lose to a team that had only one win? Yes, you did. They're 6-4 right now. Right now, the Kansas City Chiefs have all horrible teams to go play. I'm telling you right now, they just pretty much shut down saying, hey, we know we're going to make the playoffs. All we have to do is win a certain amount of games. Now, they have the Bills who are 5-5. They have the Jets who are 4-6. They have the Raiders who are 4-6. They have the Chargers who are 4-6. They have the Dolphins who are 4-6. And they have the Broncos who are 3-7. Right now, I'm telling you, Andy Reid shut down. He took a little break off, probably chilled a little bit. Was like, look, I know we got a lot of conference teams coming up. We know how to play them. A lot of them don't really have good records. We're 6-4. We could make 10-6, take the wild card, get into the playoffs, and then go from there. That's what Andy Reid's team right now is thinking.
Yeah, keep messing around, Andy Reid. You're gonna find your ass short of the playoffs. The teams that you name are very capable of beating them and winning those games.
Especially the Chargers.
Especially the Chargers.
Bills. There's still two teams. There's still two teams that can still play football. The Raiders, I'm a little bit slacking on the Raiders right now. Even though they still have the names on their team, they just haven't been pulling it together. But and the Jets mess around and won a victory.
Yeah. I mean, you're right. I think the Chargers are. I wouldn't say you have to worry about them, but they're very well. They have a good chance at beating them. The Raiders, I wouldn't worry about them too much. They're in their own head. They can't pull it together. I don't know. After the Redskins beat them, they ain't been the same since. I mean, they had that one shootout game against the Chiefs, but won that at the end. But they still don't look like the Raiders of old or that Raiders team that everybody is expecting to dominate and make the playoffs. But they very well, you're right. They very well could find themselves short of the playoffs. The Buffalo Bills, I'm gonna tell you what, man, that's got to be just like you said. Tom McDermott, right? That guy.
Oh my God! Look,
and Nathan.
He used to coach in Philadelphia.
I don't get it.
It was horrible. They thought he was going to be Jim Johnson because he had coached under Jim Johnson. He ain't no Jim Johnson. I know Johnson. He ain't Johnson. When he made that dumb decision to bring out your rookie quarterback over a known quarterback in the NFL, and you decided to make him your starter?
Hold on. No. Let me correct.
What?
Not just a known quarterback, but a quarterback that has the least amount of turnovers or interceptions.
Yeah.
A quarterback that has proven himself, a quarterback that has gotten you a winning record. They have a winning record. They are in the playoff hunt.
They're not even in the playoffs because of that. They're in the hunt, but they're not in the playoffs now because of that.
Because of that game. You're right. 5 interceptions this guy threw. And today, Nathan Peterman, 5 interceptions he throws. And today I'm listening to some talk radio or sports radio, and they're talking about that the Bills are even still considering not starting them this week coming up, but feel like they've seen enough of him in practice that he still may start again this season. What in the world are you looking at? Are you serious? This dude threw 5 picks.
If I was a player on that team,
he ain't ready.
I would be looking at my coach like, trade me now. I need to go somewhere else. I don't need to be here with you.
I agree.
Because you're killing my career. Point blank, you're killing my career. Right now, the Bills still have to play the Chiefs this week, the Patriots the week after that, the Colts, the Dolphins, the Patriots again, and the Dolphins. You have a nerve to tell me right now you're going to send that rookie quarterback up against the Patriots twice, and you're going to send him up against the Chiefs next week?
You got a nerve to tell me you're going to send him out there at all. I mean, like, really? I'm going to be real with you, man. They're going to go back. They're going to go back and look at this game in week 11 and realize the grave mistake that they made, and it's going to be the reason I'm calling it. They're not making the playoffs, and it's going to be because of that game. It's going to be because.
But off of just the defensive people like the tackle out there for $4, and they were looking at him, and that defense was just licking their chops like I'm coming. When you got a quarterback that threw 5 interceptions in one game, the defense is like, woo! Interceptions is coming. I know they coming. I'm getting myself ready to jump a route so I can get this pick.
Man,
it just it don't work like that. If I was Shady McCoy, I'd say trade me right now. If you're gonna get rid of Tyrod Taylor, that's why I came here. Trade me.
I'm gonna tell you what, man. I really hate to see Tyrod going through that, being that, he's a solid quarterback and he's not being valued there. And it sucks to see him have to go up on that podium and speak to the media about being benched. He knows he don't deserve to be benched. They're taking a piece of him away. He's having to sit there and grovel. It's demoralizing, man. It's really demoralizing. I hate to see him have to go through that, and I hope that it doesn't crush his career and that he can move on and bounce back from it, because that's got to be pretty demoralizing, man. But anyway, that's not even an NFC East team. We're gonna move on. It just goes to show that you got these other teams going along that they possibly may not make the playoffs because of certain reasons. Kansas City Chiefs, I don't know. We'll know, who knows. But at any rate, the Chiefs lost to the Giants, and they ought to be ashamed of themselves. They should know better, because bad. So, moving on. Get my camera back in focus, ladies and gentlemen. But moving on. The Washington Redskins versus the New Orleans Saints. Ladies and gentlemen, I was there. I went to New Orleans. Section 101, Section 101, row 28. 4 through 28. Was it 24 through 28? I think so. But anyway, 24, 25, 26, 27. No, that's too many seats. 24, 25, 26, 27. 24 through 27. It was horrible. If you talk about somebody that need to be ashamed, the Washington Redskins should be ashamed of themselves. Jay Gruden should be ashamed of himself. Kirk Cousins should be ashamed of himself. P. Ryan should be ashamed of himself. Vernon Davis, you should be ashamed of yourself. Everybody on that roster should be ashamed of themselves. You played 58 minutes dominant football, and you wasted all the way 2 minutes of regulation. Because we're not even going to talk about overtime, because it was over by that. It was over by then. Even when the Redskins won the toss in overtime, you knew the feeling. You knew that they were going to lose, because they held the New Orleans Saints to 3 points the entire third quarter. Second half, in the third quarter, they held the Saints to 3 points. They got to the fourth quarter and let the Saints score 18 points. That is some pathetic coaching and some pathetic play on the field. They should be ashamed. Kirk Cousins had 2 major penalties in this game. One, I think, was in the other one was in the fourth quarter, of intentional grounding. Dude, I'm telling you, there's a reason the Redskins haven't married Kirk Cousins yet and haven't committed to giving him a long-term contract. And the reason is because that you got to know what to do, and he did not know what to do. In the second quarter, he threw an intentional grounding penalty. It was so bad. I mean, there wasn't a receiver within 10 yards. Yeah, the ball got back to the line of scrimmage, but you got to recognize where your players are. If you see in the second quarter, it was Thompson that was supposed to be going out, and on an out to the left, and he didn't go out. It was almost like he was setting up for a screen. Throws it over him, and nobody's out there. So they throw the flag, and I'm like, just throw it at his feet. Fourth quarter, the Redskins are in great position towards the end of the game. They can kick a field goal and be up by 11. No, be up by 12. They could be up by 12. No, 11. I'm sorry, 11, because they were up by 8. Be up by 11. He throws another one, but this time it's Crowder. Supposed to be doing an out to the right, but Crowder doesn't break out. Kirk Cousins throws it anyway. Another 10 or 15 yards past the receiver, and it's an intentional grounding. They're out of field goal range. Plays like that kills your team. It kills your chance, and that's exactly what happened. It killed them. It killed them. There was another play in the fourth quarter where P. Ryan had to go 4th and 2. No, 3rd and 2. It was a 3rd and 2. He needed 2 yards. 2 yards. The Saints had no more timeouts. 2 yards, and they couldn't get it. If you don't know how to close a game, you don't deserve to win. If you don't know how to close a game, you're not going to win. See, to me, even if they would have had a shot at making the playoffs, it's not like they would have done anything with it. They don't show any discipline. It's almost like in big time situations, they freeze up. It's really sad. And they should all be ashamed of themselves. Jay Gruden especially. Because if you see this, then you need to adjust your play calling to make sure that they can be aware of what they need to do. It's situational football. It's simple as that. I'm telling you, when I looked at that clock and I saw how much time was left, it was 2 minutes left. The Redskins had the ball. They were up 8 points. The Saints had no timeouts. And I turned to my wife in that stands and I was like, this isn't good. This is not good. And in any other situation, you're thinking, this is a dream. A couple first downs and it's over. But of course, the Redskins did not do that. What did they do? They botched it. They botched it. Mainly because of the player Kirk Cousins at the end of the game. I mean, if you watch that whole game, the Redskins were dominating the Saints the entire game. They only had 2 sacks on Drew Brees. I almost said Drew Hill. Jesus Christ. They only had 2 sacks on Drew Brees. But when I tell you he was on the ground the majority of the game, they hit him so many times. I mean, they had that dude shook. Had him going. But in the end, they couldn't close the game out, and they lost. I mean, and the Redskins fans it was to the point where the crowd would cheer, and you couldn't tell whether it was the Saints fans, more Saints fans, or more Redskins fans. It was that many Redskins fans down there. I'm not joking. Anna's. But all of us knew the fourth quarter with 2 minutes to go, we knew it was done. It was that bad. That bad. Trevis?
I'll tell you right now. There were three things that killed y'all. All of them began with a C. Your coaches, Cousins, and the calls. All of them that began with a C. Your coaches couldn't adjust. Cousins, who knows what the heck he was doing. And the calls, which are the penalties that were called against you guys, coming down in that fourth quarter, because you guys had the ball trying to get down there to kick the field goal. It just didn't work out for you. Another thing.
They were in field goal range. They were in field goal range, dude.
Yeah, I know. And you never leave a Hall of Famer on the field. Yeah, he's a Hall of Famer. He's still a Hall of Famer. You never give a Hall of Famer a chance to make a last-minute drive to get you out of there, and that's pretty much what happened. Last 2 minutes of the game, you left a Hall of Famer on the field. You got to get him off in the 3 and out. It has to happen immediately. They ran the ball a couple of times. You got to stop it. Ingram gushed y'all for 30 to 40 yards on 2 runs. And that was really bad because
Jay, I hate to interject. I stand corrected. They held the Saints to 0 points in the third quarter. In the beginning of the second half. They didn't score.
I'm speaking on the fourth.
I said 3.
Yeah, I'm speaking on the fourth.
They didn't score in the third quarter. So 18 points. 18 it wasn't 18 unanswered because the Redskins actually had a touchdown in the fourth quarter. Hell, man, come on.
I don't really know how to call it. I
Be
think a lot of it came down to the fact that I think y'all shot. As we say in Philly, shoot your shot. I think y'all shot, and that was all y'all had. And when y'all realized that there was still time on the clock, a lot of y'all were like, yo, we still got 2 minutes left, man. Yo, I'm done. You done? Look, man, let's just hope they mess up. And that's kind of the way that it went.
That's
Cousins was
like.
done. He was done. He shot his shot.
2 minutes. 2 first downs, and the game is over. They got one of them. Two first downs, the game is done. The Saints had no timeouts. No timeouts. And correct me if I'm wrong, but when the Saints got the ball back, they only ran like 3 plays. What it was? You show that's right. They only ran 3 plays, scored a touchdown, got the 2-point conversions. The Redskins got the ball back after that. So they still had another opportunity with 1 timeout. And it was 3 plays. 3 plays they had. One was a drop pass by Vernon Davis. Then Kirk Cousins got sacked. And then they threw an out to Perine, and he dropped the ball.
That was the sack fumble you talking about.
No, he ain't fumbled.
That was in the fourth quarter, right? Coming down, trying to get a field goal.
He didn't fumble.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. 76 fell on the ball.
Yeah.
The lineman fell on the ball. And that's the one where I'm trying to figure out what was Cousins looking at, because there was nothing to the right side of the field, but he was looking over there like somebody was supposed to break. And when he got smacked from behind, I think he just wasn't expected.
Dude, it was so bad. It was. They should be ashamed. And I said that the entire time. I told my wife, and I told every other Redskins fan that I talked to while I was down there, they should be ashamed. I mean, I honestly, I would rather the Redskins had gotten beat bad, like just beat up. At least you could say, okay, well, they didn't have a chance. But to get that close, to play that well for 58 minutes, and to finish like that, it's just sorry. That's sorry. Your fans deserve better. Your organization deserve better. They all deserve better. You should know better than that. You ought to be ashamed of yourselves, all of you.
But I thank you guys, though. I don't care because you.
I don't care. I don't care one bit. And the Panthers fans, I mean, I had all my homies like, "Yo, thanks, man. The Redskins gonna come through. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna beat the Saints. They're gonna put the Saints behind. It's gonna help my Panthers out, so on and so forth." And then that last 2 minutes, I got so many phone calls and text messages. I had to turn my phone off, man. It was so bad. It's just. But yeah,
it's not funny, but it's not funny.
It's hilarious, man.
No, I'm just telling you, because I know I was one of the people telling you, like, yo,
it was.
Thanks, yo. Appreciate it. Now I can stop hearing all this Saints stuff like Saints can beat the Eagles. And then all of a sudden I said, damn, yo, what is Cousins doing?
Man.
Yo, hold up. Did y'all let that bull just score like that? And I was just like, oh. But what it allowed me to do was look at the game. And I also was able to look at the game between the Saints and the Vikings because they already played in the beginning of the season with both teams completely healthy. And the Vikings shredded the Saints with Bradford, but I really don't see the Vikings beating the Saints in the playoffs. I don't see it happening. So, I think we see the Saints eventually.
Let's move on. I was so pissed. I feel with you, though.
But don't get me wrong, the Lions will be in the playoff. The playoff picture right now is Eagles, Vikings, Falcons. Eagles, Vikings, Saints, Rams, Panthers, Falcons. Falcons won't beat the Saints twice. They have to play the Saints twice. They won't beat them twice. It'll be the Lions, but Seattle is still creeping back there, and a lot of the Rams, Panthers, Lions, Seattle have to play each other in the next couple of weeks. So it's going to be fun to see how all that plays out.
Yeah. That's going to be interesting. Well, let's move on to next week, man. Let's start out by talking about the Cowboys and the Chargers. We ain't got to talk long. You can go
Cowboys,
for it.
Chargers.
Yeah, set it off.
Cowboys need to take care. The Chargers are a team hungry for a win, and they have their team. You know, right now the Cowboys are discombobulated, and they're trying to figure out what they're going to do. You should have drafted better. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh, God.
You should have your backups to your backups. I don't know what to tell you. If you know Sean Lee always gets hurt, you should have a backup behind Sean Lee that will play just as well. I don't know what to tell you. You're gonna sit there and whine because he's hurt. He's always hurt. He's a middle linebacker in the NFL. Most middle linebackers in the NFL are always hurt at some point of the season if they're playing very well because they do a lot. They do a lot. Most middle linebackers in the NFL are hurt. You should have a backup, somebody that can play. Yeah, somebody that can play as well or close to being as good. I don't know what to tell you. But when you look at the Chargers are surprising a lot of people. A lot of people are going down there playing the Chargers, and they're not pushovers. I mean, they are selected the 12th seed in their respective league, and they're 4-6. But they're not pushovers. They're not losing their games by a whole bunch. They're losing their games by some respectable amounts. So don't go down there.
The quote of the night. The quote of the night. You should have drafted better. God damn.
I'm just saying, don't hit me with that. You should have drafted better. I don't know what to tell you.
Hey, you done?
No, I'm just saying a 5-5 Cowboys team against a 4-6 Chargers team. Like the Cowboys fans said earlier in the podcast, earlier in the weeks beforehand. What did he say? Your record is what your team should be, right? Your record says that your team is that. Well, 5-5 ain't that far from 4-6. So the Cowboys are in for a run this week going up against the Chargers.
Well, let me interject by saying I agree with you. I think the Cowboys are in bad shape right now. I think that they are grasping at straws and they're trying to pull things together. And I think it's too late in the season to pull things together. I think Zeke getting suspended for 6 weeks came at the worst time. I think if they still had Zeke, they'd have some hope. But at this point, the way their defense is playing, and with the performance that Dak put up last game, I don't see it getting much better for the and not even Dak really. That offensive line, man, that left side. I don't see things getting that much better for the this point. I just don't see it. And like you said, the Chargers are hungry. They're looking for another win, and they always play hard. They may not always play well, but they always play hard. So, but I agree with you, man. I don't know about they should have drafted better part, but
I got a question though. You ready for this question?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think the Cowboys lose the rest of their season to get a draft pick in Dallas next year?
On purpose, you saying?
On purpose.
Nah.
Blame it on Zeke being out and everybody being hurt. And they lose out. Lose out. Right? Lose out. Maybe win 1 or 2, but basically it looks like they folded. You heard Ajayi said he felt like they just stopped playing in the fourth quarter.
You talking about the Dolphins?
So, no, Ajayi said that he felt like Dallas stopped playing in the fourth quarter.
He was a Cowboy.
So do you think once they realize they're not going to win a game, they just say, all right, we're going to fold it in. We're going to go for a good draft pick this year?
I don't think so. Now, if you Cleveland Browns, maybe. Or if you were even the Giants, maybe. But a team like the Cowboys that, for one, I don't think the Cowboys are going to do that because they got too much pride. Jerry Jones got too much pride that allowed him to do that. He'll fire that whole team and get a whole new 53-man roster before he let them do that.
Right now, Jerry Jones needs a linebacker. He don't need a linebacker. He needs a really good linebacker.
He can get him a linebacker, but I don't think he's going to tank to do that. Not a linebacker. Quarterback,
Okay.
maybe. I don't think so.
He has that. I wouldn't get rid of that. I think if you put the right weapons around Dak, he's gonna be an amazing quarterback. If you have to worry about other people on their team, the problem is, as I said it before, and I'll say it again.
I'm not talking about Dak specifically. I'm just talking about the quarterback position. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, but as I said it before, and I said it again, and multiple times, Cash said, "Well, what are you talking about?" I said, if you take out Zeke, and you will see what Dak is all about when you take him out.
That's kind
of very hard to navigate an offense. It's very hard to navigate an offense.
That's kind of what you said, not completely. You kind of adjust that statement based upon how you want it.
Adjust it.
Every time you adjust.
No, that's what I said. I said you will see what Dak is about when Zeke's not in the game, and if he could win the game. I said that.
You said
what is he about whenever Zeke is not in the game? That's what I said. When Zeke is not in the game running 160 yards, you can focus on a quarterback more often. So what is he about when Zeke is not in the game? And that's the most. And the thing is, even in the Eagles game, Morris still ran for 91.
Right.
And other people ran the ball too. So,
but here's the thing: there's been other games where Zeke himself didn't have over 100 yards, and Dak still played well. You see what I'm saying? So,
but
your statement, I understand where you're coming from in saying it, because you're right. If you don't have a solid running game like the Cowboys do, operating on all cylinders, then yeah, they could key off on the quarterback. So I get what you're saying, but it's not technically always the case when it comes to Dak and Zeke. That's not always the case. Dak had a horrible game, and Morris still had 91 yards, and Jalen Smith had, I think he had maybe 15 or so yards, something like that. I can't remember.
Oh, yeah, way more than 15.
It was.
I don't know. But I don't like the words that Dak had a horrible game. And I know this is a sidebar to all the fans that are still watching. That's a sidebar. Dak didn't have a horrible game. He was forced into a horrible game.
No.
He was forced into a horrible game by a good defense. Matter of fact, he was forced into a horrible game by a very good defense.
I'm sorry.
That's what happened. Please don't take away from my defense like, Dak just happened to throw these balls in the air and he just happened to throw the ball to the side wrong. He just happened to throw it way over somebody's head. He was pressured. He was hurried. He was knocked down. He was sacked. He threw those passes.
Let me correct my statement. It was not Jalen Smith. That's the linebacker. It was Rod Smith. He only had 8 rushes for 11 yards. And Dak had 2 rushes for 10 yards. And you combine that with Alfred Morris's 91 yards on 17 attempts. So let me stand corrected. It was Rod Smith, his brother, Jalen Smith's brother. And I didn't say that the Eagles defense didn't play well. I actually gave, at the beginning of us talking about the Eagles and the Cowboys, I said that their secondary really showed up and played really, really well. And I've always, in weeks prior, I've always stated that front 7 is sick. That front 7 and that 8-man rotation they got on the defensive line is very, very, very good. Probably the best in the league. So you're not going to try to load my statement by saying they were. Dak had a bad game. Played very, very well. No doubt. That goes without saying. But what the subject was us focusing on what Dak does in certain situations. Just because the running game is good, it doesn't mean that's only when Dak is good. That's basically what you're saying, and that's not the case. Dak is a good quarterback outside of that at times. I'm just giving credit where credit.
You heard what you said. At times. You like at times.
Not every time. It's not every time. Okay. It's not every time that he's bad when the running game is bad. it goes hand in hand. Let's move on because we went back.
That was a sidebar. We didn't go back. That was a sidebar. I told the fans. I said that's a sidebar. We'll just continue.
Way too side of a bar. We're gonna move on. So we're gonna move on. Let's go ahead and predict the game as we go. And I'll give a score for the Cowboys Chargers game. I personally think the Chargers are gonna win. I think they're gonna win 24-17. What do you predict?
What?
What do you predict for that Cowboys game?
You said 24-17. Oh, you dreaming like Dallas actually gonna really score in this game. Dallas is done. I mean, they're gonna find a way. It's gonna look like they're moving the ball in this game, but the Chargers are gonna smell blood in the water.
Shots fired!
I'm telling you, the Chargers are about to smell blood in the water. They're coming after them. They know about all this person is out, that person is out. They're coming for him. 24-9. They're coming for him.
So 2 weeks in a row, they don't put a touchdown on the board. That's what you're saying?
Nope. And then again, everybody's gonna be looking at Dak like, well, what's up?
Let's move on to the Eagles versus the Bears. And the reason I want to do that because the Giants and Redskins are the game of the week. So let's move on to the Eagles. I'll let you go first since it's your beloved Eagles.
Okay. When you look at a game like this and you say, oh man, Eagles should easily win. I'm a little skeptical about the whole Eagles should easily win. But what I will tell you is this. I think Peterson's on some call new plays in that first beginning of the half that we've never used before. I've noticed that in his coaching style, and he's done this for like the second to third week in a row. He did it first against Denver. And a lot of Eagles fans were like, yo, what are these plays? Like, where did this come from? And then in the second half, he kind of turned back into the team that we're used to seeing. So I will say the Eagles win this game. I'll give us 42 to 17.
42.
And to tell you the truth, I don't even realize if we have our kicker now. We have to go for 2 points every time again. I don't really know what's going to happen in this game. It could be Foles could be in the game at halftime.
If you got a kicker?
If we don't have a kicker. Because then instead of 1 point, that's just 2 points on every touchdown.
So you
truthfully.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that they're gonna get all those 2-point conversions?
Instead of it being 28-0, you know what I mean? That could easily be, 37-0, first half. They be like, yo, I don't need to put Winston in the game after that. I'm just taking him out, put Foles in. And please don't forget that Foles is a pretty good quarterback when he a backup, man. When he a backup coming in the game, he a pretty good quarterback. He's still that same quarterback that threw 7 touchdowns against the Raiders.
I'm not saying he's a bad quarterback at all. I just don't believe that I'm not saying the Eagles are a bad team. I think the Eagles are a very good team, but any team that has to go for that many 2-point conversions, eventually it's going to stop working.
True. The problem. Our kicker got a concussion. He got a concussion. What you want to do with him?
Under the concussion protocol. I mean, y'all guys better be glad that y'all ain't got to play tomorrow. True. You know, I mean, that really plays in y'all favor. But
yeah, hopefully, we don't have to go for 2. Hopefully he good.
But I'll say this. If y'all got to go for 2 that many times, I don't know. It might not make a difference anyway because y'all might just be beating the Browns that bad. Who knows? I guess
we play the Bears, man.
Against a better team, it would be tougher. But against the
You heard me? We play the Bears.
I heard you. I know who y'all play. I know who y'all play. And for that reason, I'm gonna give this score.
You call the Bears the Browns?
I say the Browns. My bad.
He said the Browns. I was like, yo, we play the Bears. You're like, I know who we play.
Both suck. They both.
He was like, I'm basically calling them the same team. They only got 2 wins more. Y'all play the Browns.
Boy, it don't even really matter. I'm so pissed at the Redskins. They can be whoever the hell they want to be. But I think that score, I'm gonna call it 38-12. Bears.
What?
I'm messing.
What?
I'm just messing with you.
Yo, I lied to you not. The hair on my arm just went up like, what? Did I hear you just say that, yo?
Yeah, I'm joking. Nah, I don't see it. To me, Trubisky is not a bad quarterback. I think he's gonna be good. I don't think he's gonna be great, but I also think that they had to play him. I don't think they really had a choice, and he's gonna earn his lumps, and I think that's gonna do him well in the long run. That they put him out there, he's able to get that experience, that real game time speed and action, and see how the game flows. Instead of just in preseason. So I understand what they're trying to do with him because he is their franchise. That's why they drafted him. But I just don't see him being good enough to decipher that Eagles defense. And their running game is solid with Cohen and Howard. Their wide receivers are very questionable. They're just okay. Emmen is probably their best, probably their number one. Their defense needs a lot of help, needs a lot of work. So I just don't see them competing enough to be able to beat the Eagles, especially with the Eagles playing as well as they are at the moment. So I just don't see it.
Let's say the truth of the matter. And the true understanding is you've watched the Eagles defensive line up against some of the great offensive lines that are in the NFC East and some of the great offensive lines that are in the NFL. Does the Chicago Bears have a great offensive line?
Nope.
That's going to be able to stop 8 fresh defensive linemen running at them the way that the Eagles do. And we're not blitzing. These are 4 down linemen. These are 4 down linemen putting their knuckles in the ground, coming forward right at you. Do the Chicago Bears have what it takes? No. I hope Trubisky or whatever his name is survives this game in order to make the Bears better in the future. But I'll tell you what right now, good luck, young man. Good luck. This is one of those games where they pin their ears back and they say, we coming for you.
You just repeated what I just said. But anyway, let's move on.
It sounds better when I said it.
If you say so. Let's move on to the game of the week, which is the Redskins versus the Giants. I will allow you to go first.
Oh, you allow me to go first? I don't know why. I don't even know why we're talking about this game. No, but
you are so sorry.
I'll just say I hope right now that the Giants don't go.
He's sorry.
I hope right now. Is this your first time playing them?
Yes.
I hope right now. Where are we playing at?
They are playing in DC. FedEx Field.
Okay. Redskins win this game. The Giants can't win a game that's not at home. I'm just letting you know they can't win a game that's not at home. But I look at it and I say, don't underestimate them as an NFC East opponent. Record really normally doesn't even matter. But I will say, I don't even know that coach's name, McAdoo. He doesn't even know who the Redskins are as a team. He's new to this. He has no idea what's going on.
He don't know his own. McAdoo don't even know.
That's what I'm saying. He don't have no idea what's going on. I think the Redskins run away with this one as a team. But at first it will be close just because the players already know who each other's are. But Cousins knows the Giants because he's played the Giants. He know what defensive lineman to watch out for. He know who to adjust for. Those are the things that McAdoo can't account for. He hasn't played in the NFC East. He has no idea what's going on in the NFC East. He's a stranger to the NFC East, and that's what makes this game unknown to where I'm coming from anyway, unknown on how it's going to turn out. But I don't think he understands how the NFC works. So I say the Redskins win this game by a large amount.
Get a score. Score from me.
I would say Redskins win 31-17.
Well, I'm gonna say, and I can't believe I'm saying this before the third time in our beloved Talking NFC Beast podcast, I agree with you. I think McAdoo, this is the third time, and I'm more surprised than you are. Look here, let me tell you. I think that McAdoo is going to get outcoached by Jay Gruden. I think you hit the nail on the head by saying that McAdoo doesn't know enough about the NFC East, and I think part of that was shown already in the play calling that he exhibited early on and got taken away from him. I think that, which is something, ladies and gentlemen, that we did call on Talking NFC Beast. We called that they were going to take that play calling away from McAdoo, and they did, and they should have. But I think ultimately I agree with you. I don't think that McAdoo is going to know what to do against a pissed off Redskins team that's going to come in firing on all cylinders like they did against the Saints, because they played a good game against the Saints until the last 2 minutes. And I don't know of any other reason why the Redskins won't come home and do the same thing to the Giants. NFC East battles are always tough, or the games are always tough. They're always, I mean, because in your division, it's always rough games. But I just see the Redskins, grabbing the balls and trying to get some self-respect and some dignity about themselves and try to bounce back from that loss that they just took to the Saints. So I see the Redskins coming out strong, coming out fast. I see Kirk Cousins coming back and having a good game and making a claim for wanting the money that he eventually is going to get, whether it's with the Redskins or with someone else. So I see him coming out throwing for 300 plus yards, 3 touchdowns. I see the Redskins walking away with this one pretty handedly. So I'm calling the score 35-17. I don't think the Giants are going to get in the 20s. So I'll call it 35-17 Redskins on Thanksgiving Day.
We don't have that we don't have that stat from it's about, hey, well, the Giants haven't scored 10 points or anything like that. We don't even have that stat. We have no idea whatsoever what the Giants are doing. All we know is the Giants have the Redskins, the Raiders, the Cowboys, the Eagles, the Cardinals, and the Redskins again at the end of the season. They're going to have a pretty good draft pick. Considering their schedule, they're going to have a pretty good draft pick at the end of the year. The Giants are currently 2-8.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I look at the Giants and it's disappointing, man, because a lot of people had them doing, great things.
Oh man,
this season they just didn't show up, man. I mean, they didn't show up.
Can we do a sidebar really quickly? I'm gonna give your team some hope here.
Who, my team?
Your Washington Redskins right now can go 10-6, and I'm gonna call out the schedule right now. Giants at 2-8, Cowboys at 5-5, Chargers at 4-6, Cardinals at 4-6, Broncos at 3-7, Giants at 2-8. Right now, if I was the head coach, I was Giant Gruden right now, I say, look, right, Jay Gruden. I say right now, we could run the board. That was a tough game, but we just went up against one of the best teams in the NFC. Right now, we could run the board. We run the board. We're 10-6. Let's see where we're at. Right now, you're currently in the NFL at 11th seed behind the Cowboys. If you win out, which I don't believe anybody else is going to win out between the Lions, Seahawks, Packers, and Cowboys, you guys went out, you're in the hunt automatically. And that's the hope for the Washington Redskins right there, talking NFC Beast.
Wow. I like it. I like it. I like it. I don't think it's gonna happen. I like it.
You fought all your hard battles. All your hard battles you've already fought. Everybody that you play is behind you, except for the Cowboys. But the Chargers are behind you. The Cardinals are behind you. The Broncos, the Giants again. Only team that you have to beat are the Cowboys at the Cowboys.
Which they've done. Which they've done before.
And that's it.
I just don't see him winning out, man. If you'd have been at that game, New Orleans, that Saints game,
What you gotta understand is New Orleans is 8-2. Your record is what your record says that you are. You are a 4-5 team going up against a 7-2 team. It happens. I understand. Yes, it was a debacle. Yes, it's something that now your coaching squad is better at and understands more about. But to lose to the Cardinals, the Cowboys, and the Giants twice? Come on, man. You gotta have some spirit about that. Y'all should clean house.
They have a good chance at it. I mean, it's a possibility. I would say the percentage on that is probably about 40, 45 at best. I mean, I'm just looking at it from the standpoint.
Let's look at the team. Y'all have to catch the Falcons
from a perspective of how they finish games and how they've played against the stronger opponent. And and a lot of those games, I just didn't see that fight like I thought it should. Granted, they had, that one game in particular where they had 4 new offensive linemen. Yeah, that plays a huge part of it. I mean, yeah, I get it. But again, you put players on the field, you expected to win a game. It's just simple as that. So I just, and maybe I'm still a little butt hurt because they lost that lead to the Saints and they lost, horribly last week. It could be that I could have some hangover from week 11, but it like you said, it's a possibility. Is it probable? No, but it's possible.
But let's look at who they have to catch. Currently in 6th seed, the Atlanta Falcons. They still have to play the Buccaneers, the Vikings, the Saints, the Buccaneers, the Saints, the Panthers. Panthers win out, you good.
You're right.
You good.
Really, really good point. I make a really, really good point. I mean, it's just the way I'm looking at it is because the Redskins have played so poorly in some of those games, they put themselves in a position to where now they have to win out, and there are other teams that have to do other stuff in order for the Redskins to get where they need to be. And that sucks that you put yourself in that position. You know what I mean? That's pretty sorry that you put yourself in that position. So, from that standpoint, what are you going to do? So what we're going to do is go ahead and close out and, finish things off. You want to play a game or you want to just close it? You want to play? Let's play a game. We can play
ready
a quick
to go.
game.
Let's go.
Let's play a quick game. Let me get my music. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to. Oh, I'm sorry. It's game time. I didn't do it the same way Cash do it, so I had to do that. Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome y'all to, and I can't stand you, Truth, because you just stole my thunder. Who's gonna make the playoffs?
Yo, I do that a lot. I stole a lot of thunder, yo.
That was my game. My game was who in the NFC East can still make the playoffs. There's no need to really even talk about the playoffs. The Eagles are in there.
I stole the thunder. That's probably why I shouldn't say anything at all. Cowboys, since we already looked at the Washington Redskins, who could possibly make the playoffs, but they would have to win every game straight out, no problem whatsoever. And they would have to outscore all their opponents by at least 10 points.
Yep.
Understand that. You can't just beat them. You got to beat them by 10 points. You need your points spread. Let's look at the Cowboys finishing the schedule. They got the Chargers at 4-6, which we already said that they were basically like the same team. And if they go to the Chargers, they're going to have a problem. Actually, they're playing the Chargers at home. If you look at that, they got the Chargers at home. They got the Redskins at home. They go to the Giants. They play the Seahawks at home. And then they end with the Philadelphia Eagles. I see the Dallas Cowboys winning more than 2 of those games.
They got the Eagles in
automatically. Week 17, which we all know the Eagles are not going to play their starters. But when you look at it, the history of the Philadelphia Eagles this year, and just this year only, if they do not play their starters in that last game, that 2-week hangover could spell disaster for us in the playoffs. So he's going to have to put them on the field to allow them to get some type of play in.
How many weeks left? You said it's week 12, so it's 5 weeks left?
6 weeks.
6 weeks?
Yeah. Because y'all 4-6.
Right. Yeah.
You get 10-6, y'all need 6.
6 weeks. I see the Cowboys winning 3 games, and that's it. I don't think they beat the Seahawks. I don't think they beat Oakland. I think Oakland's going to beat them. And I don't see them beating the Redskins on that second game.
Yeah. So I see the Cowboys getting a good draft pick in Dallas this year.
Well, I don't see them beating the Chargers either. I picked the Chargers on this next game. So.
Yeah, I picked the Chargers too in that game. I don't see them beating the Chargers.
I don't see it. Not
without Zeke.
Not without Zeke, and not with that offensive line, man. That left side, that left tackle. Yeah. I don't see it. So I'm with you on that. I don't think the Cowboys make it. Again, we're not going to talk about the Eagles because they're in there. So, but Redskins, I mean, you make a strong argument for them. I mean, I don't have as much hope because of their past performance in weeks prior, but I understand where you're coming from in the perspective of the other teams that they've already played and the other teams that they have coming up and the opponents of those other teams, like the Saints and like the Panthers in the NFC. So I get it, you know. I pretty much think that right now the Redskins are on upset alert. They're looking to upset other teams from not making the playoffs or either, you know, just throw everything they have at them just to see what can come from it. Even if the Redskins do make the playoffs, I don't see them doing much with it. I think they're too battered. I'm gonna tell you, too broken right now. I don't know. I don't see them doing.
I understand that, but I'm gonna tell you something else for the Redskins. You ready? The Packers play the Steelers, the Buccaneers, the Browns, the Panthers, the Vikings, the Lions. They're not going to win that without Aaron Rodgers.
Nah.
The Seahawks. Now, they play the Niners, and that's what I always hated. Every time you see a Super Bowl team, there's always a group of teams in their bracket that suck. But they got the Niners. They play the Eagles. They play the Jaguars, the Rams, the Cowboys, the Cardinals. You got them losing 3, right? At least 3 of those games.
At least, yeah.
Now, the other team that's in your way is the Lions. They play the Vikings, the Ravens, who are trying to come up, who are actually in the playoffs. The Buccaneers, but they play the Bears, then the Bengals, then the Packers. So they're the team that's in y'all way.
The Lions.
I got faith in y'all. They're the team that's in y'all way. They may lose to the Vikings. They may beat the Vikings. You don't know. But they got the Ravens still to play. The Ravens have been balling.
So
they play the Bengals. They play the Bengals.
The Vikings tomorrow, right?
They play the Vikings tomorrow,
yep.
Yes.
What's the Iron, what they call it? Iron City Bowl or something like that?
I don't know. Something about turkeys and Motor City Bowl. Yeah, something like that.
I mean, yeah, I feel you, man. I'll increase the percentage to 55.
No, you're still heartbroken over watching that game personally.
Yeah. I said it earlier. I said I'm probably still soaking over that, man. I mean,
I think you're soaking. I really think you're soaking.
It was only a few days ago, man. It ain't like it was week 2. I mean, it was only a few days ago. I
hope they're not soaking like you're soaking.
I just finished washing my clothes from the trip. I wanted to get that funk off of it, that damn losing funk out my clothes. So I just washed my clothes, man. I ain't had time to get over it yet. What can I say? But
oh man.
Let's wrap this thing up, man. Let's wrap it up, man. What do you got, man?
All right, man.
Go ahead.
Very productive week in the NFL for the NFC East. We get to see who we are, where we've been, where we're going. But it seems to be the only 2 teams alive are the only 2 people that are willing to get up on this podcast and actually hold a conversation with the people. So hopefully we can get some Giants and Cowboys fans with some heart to get on this podcast and hold a conversation with the people that are talking NFC beasts.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I mean, I'm gonna tell you, man. I think that Thanksgiving week, the games in week 12 or the week of Thanksgiving are always great games. You know, you have teams who are fighting for playoff contention. You have a lot of viewers. Everybody gets up for this game. You know, so I see it being a very, very exciting week in football across the league, not just the NFC East. And I think especially for the NFC East, because you got a team in the Eagles who are flying all over the place, playing great ball, putting up a lot of points. You got a Cowboys team that's struggling, so you have drama there. And you have a Redskins team that's still in the hunt. And you have a Giants team that's just trying to save face. So when you got 4 teams like that with different dynamics, you know you're gonna have some good football. You're gonna, if not for nothing, you're gonna have some drama and some excitement because everybody's looking to do something. The Eagles are still looking to impress. The Cowboys are looking to salvage whatever they have left of their season. The Redskins are making their playoff push, and the Giants are just trying to keep the name on the jersey and try to represent themselves. So, in any way that you look at it, you got play or teams that are gonna fight for whatever reason. All 4 different reasons, but they're gonna fight. So I think from the NFC East, you're gonna see a lot of exciting football. You know, I think everybody's gonna be stuffed and full of turkey and ready to party and have a good time. So I see this being a good upliftment for the entire country, not just football, but for the entire country, man. It's a good time of year. Got to be thankful. You know, got to be thankful that we're here and that we're able to do this. You know what I mean? So, hey, man, with that being said, man, let's go ahead and close this thing out, all right?
All right.
Want to thank everybody for viewing this and taking the time to tune in and listen to us talk trash to each other about the NFC East. And as always, we appreciate y'all, man. Y'all take care. We over and out.
And the only thing else I got to say is, how about them Cowboys? Yeah!